Oi! Yes, it's a new week. We got more fights. UFC Vegas 40, Aspen Ladd versus her opponent, Norma Dumont. Coming up this Saturday, 11 fights on the card. We're going to be discussing one of them here today on Balls Deep Breakdown with me, your host, Uncle Weezy. Today it's Bruno Blindado Silva versus Andrew El Dirte Sanchez. Don't worry, it's not that Bruno Silva, not the 125 pounder. They're not feeding him to a middleweight. This is the Bruno Silva that knocked Wellington Turman into the middle of next week in his UFC debut earlier this year. So we have got some stats to go through for this fight. We're going to go through the tail of the tape, the experience, the finish stats, the grappling, the striking, and the strength schedule. And we're going to kind of talk about what we've seen on tape from these guys and see if we can't find some spots in the lines, even though for some reason all the books are taking their time getting the lines out this week. I think we might have one book that has some props out, but we're going to wait for the rest of the props to come out. But it doesn't mean we can't get into all the stats for this fight. What's up to everybody that's in the chat? We've got, let's see here. We've got Headley one in the room saying fight doesn't go to decision, lock it up. Yeah, I'm right there with you on that one. And saying I can't wait for this breakdown and some of the upcoming fights. Sandhagen Jan, Glover Jan, Usman Covington, Roseway Lee, Diaz Luque, Gaethje Chandler. Holy shit, Nate Diaz is fighting Luque? I didn't even know that was happening. That's fire. That'll be a fun one. Gaethje Chandler, Holloway against Yair. Yeah, let's hope Yair shows up for that one, man. It's been forever since he's fought. I'd be surprised if he even got there, but hopefully he does. He's so much fun to watch. We got Jesse Guerra in the room saying amen. We got Daz Files in the room. What's up, dude? Good to see you. And we got him saying likes, and yeah, half an hour till the show. We got Dino Loiakano in the room. 7 more minutes to gems from Uncle Weezy. What's up, Dino? Good to see you, brother. We got Headley one in here saying, I think Marquez Wright is going to be the ass shaving of the week. It's up there in the consideration. I will let the cat out of the bag and say that that is one of the fights that I am taking a long look at for a potential ass shaving this week. But we're going to have to find out till tomorrow night. 10 o'clock Central Time. I'll be going live after the Contender Series for the full card breakdown, just the tip. We'll break down all 11 fights on the UFC Vegas 40 card. I'll give you a greasy 4-leg parlay at the end of that, and we will finish, of course, with Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, and we're going to find out which one of these combatants this week is going to have their ass shaved. We got Benjamin Alistair saying, yo, what up, Weezy? What's up, Ben? Thanks for hanging out with us. We got Jesse saying, sup, big dog. We got Alistair saying, heavy hands Silva. Yeah, man, we're going to look at the knockout rate for Silva. It's off the charts, man. The dude has been absolutely crazy. Both guys did KO Turman into the middle of next week, actually. And we've got somebody I haven't seen in a minute, my guy Dan Goldstein in the room. What's up, dude? This fight breaks down like this total obliteration of a dosser. I think I know who the dosser will be, but hoping Uncle Weezy can reinforce that bias. Dan, good to see you, brother. Thanks for hanging out. We got Eric Pan in the room saying, hey, let's get into it, you guys. Let me see here if my co-host for this Balls Deep breakdown is ready. Let's see if my guy Smooth Jimmy Apollo, right 52% of the time, is ready to go here. And wow, he's got his lock of the week. He's got the big smile, the cigar. That means we're ready to go right here, you guys, on Balls Deep Breakdown. Let's start it off like we always do with the tail of the tape. And let's see what I got for you guys here on the stats. We got some lines here. We've got the stats right here on the Silva Sanchez fight, but I've also got all 10 other fights on the card. Like, for instance, here's Marquez against Jordan Wright. Here's Fierro against Bueno Silva. You can find these statistics in the description to this video, there is a link to them. If you want to click on that link, you can download this for free. I did all the work for you, and we can go along with the stats here. In addition to that, I've got the advanced stats on the left here, and we can go through all the individual fights for Andrew Sanchez here. As we see, we got it from Muradov all the way down to the UFC debut against Roundtree. And we've got all the individual stats. You know, it's all right here for you guys. So feel free to download it. We'll go along with all this stuff here and take a look and see if we can't find some spots for you guys. But let's bring this back up on the screen and zoom in so we can see everything that we're talking about here. And let's start right off at the tail of the tape. Now, the one thing I noticed with the tail of the tape, you guys, is that there's not a lot of advantages here for either fighter. We got Sanchez, 33 years old. Silva's 32. Sanchez 1 inch taller. The reach is identical. They are both orthodox fighters. We got Bruno Silva, always has been training out of Evolução Thai in Brazil, I believe in Curitiba. And Andrew Sanchez training out of TriStar. But if you look at his Instagram, you will see that he has been training with some of these guys from AKA recently. Definitely Cormier and Khabib, and he's been showing some videos of him training there. So I think maybe with things being a little bit locked down in Canada, he has maybe switched camps. I don't know if you guys in the chat know anything about this, but there has been some pictures of him going around on Instagram with him training at AKA. So if we go to the experience numbers for the UFC and the pros here, Silva, the more experienced fighter, actually having 26 fights in about 2 more years of a professional career than Andrew Sanchez. But if we go to cage time, we'll see that cage time the favors Sanchez here at 170 to about 125. Average fight time for Sanchez is about twice as long as Silva at about 9.44 minutes, while for Silva, it's less than a round on average. So that's why Silva has more fights but less cage time, is because Silva fights like he's double parked. He's getting in and out of there. So Silva only has 1 fight at the UFC level out of his 26 fights, while Andrew Sanchez has been fighting half of his career at the UFC level. So definitely a higher level of competition outside and inside the UFC for Andrew Sanchez here, as he's got a 5-4 record, over 110 more minutes of cage time in the UFC. We see the average fight times here. The average fight time, 4.75 minutes for Silva, 13 for Sanchez. If we look at the finish stats here, you guys, we're going to see that both of these guys are pretty good finishers. Andrew Sanchez has finished 2/3 of his fights inside the distance. That's 8 of 12, 6 of them by knockout, 2 of them by submission. While for Bruno Silva, 20 professional wins, 85 of them coming inside the distance, all of them by knockout. So that's fantastic. These guys are both pretty good finishers, but we will see that Sanchez in the UFC now, at the UFC level, that finish rate has went significantly down, as he has only finished 1 of his 5 wins inside the distance, while outside of the UFC, we have 7 wins. So that's out of those 9 fights outside the UFC, he had a 77% finish rate, but only 20% finish rate inside the UFC. So if we look at how they lose fights, we will see that Andrew Sanchez has been knocked out in 3 of his 4 UFC losses, and he has been finished in 2/3 of his pro losses, all by knockout. While Bruno Silva has 6 professional losses, and 5 of them have been inside the distance by submission. So we do know that Andrew Sanchez is a credentialed grappler, former national champion 2-time in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or I'm sorry, in wrestling, in college wrestling, NAIA champion. And he also was a IBJJF world champion in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. So Sanchez does have a background with wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. While for Bruno Silva, he is a BJJ black belt in his own right, but usually you don't see BJJ black belts getting submitted all the time. And 5 out of his 6 losses have been inside the distance by submission. But the most recent one was a long time ago, like back in 2016, as we do see right here that it's an 11-year career, 11-plus year career for Bruno Silva. So, he's been around for a minute. And right now I've got the Tapology page right here up for the opponent, but now we've got Silva up here. And if we look, we do see this loss here by Kimura. That was at the end of 2016. And then since then, he's been on a winning streak, 5-fight winning streak, which was finished up by Turman here in his UFC debut. Prior to that, a 4th-round ground and pound knockout of Artem Frolov, a 1st-round knockout of Alexander Shlemenko, a 1st-round knockout of Gennady Kovalev. That was a knee to the head. It was vicious. Dude dropped like a sack of potatoes after that one. And then in 1 minute of round 1, Mateus Musato. But between the Frolov and the Turman fight, we have got a 2.5-year absence due to the fact that he was using steroids and he got caught. So we did have quite a layoff there. And I think he was supposed to fight Darren Wynn, popped, and then he was suspended for 2 years, and now he's back and he's being tested by USADA. So yeah, he looks, ever since he was juicing around this area, he was knocking fools out in the 1st round. And it waited till the 4th round on Frolov because Frolov was having some success wrestling here. But before that, we could find the Vitor Miranda loss, which was an exhibition bout on the Ultimate Fighter. Vitor just used him as a punching bag here. And then prior to that, we see the previous losses by submission came from 2012, 2011, 2010. So very long time ago. They're probably not as relevant now. He does have a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, so we'll see which one of these guys is going to be better on the ground. But let's get back here into the stats, you guys, and get into these striking stats. See if we can find something. See, now, the problem is that Bruno Silva only has 1 UFC fight. So let's concentrate more on what Sanchez has done here. He's landing 4.48 significant strikes a minute and absorbing 5.05 for a negative significant strike differential of 0.57. He's thrown almost exactly the same amount of volume that his opponents are throwing at him. Almost 43% striking accuracy. He has a 0.57% knockdowns per total significant strikes landed, averaging 0.38 knockdowns per 15 minutes, while he has only been knocked down 1 time in 591 significant strikes absorbed. He has only been knocked down once. So he has shown some toughness, despite the fact that he's been knocked out 3 times. It was only 1 knockdown, and I believe it was Anthony Smith that was the one that knocked him down. While Muradov finished him on the feet, and somebody else finished him on the feet that I just recently watched. Maybe it was the Smith fight. But anyway, yeah, he's definitely got that negative significant strike differential, you guys. We do see Bruno Silva having a 73% striking accuracy, but that's because most of his fight took place in control time positions. He finished it with ground and pound at the end of the 1st, and everything that he was throwing in that ground and pound was landing and absolutely separated Wellington Turman from his consciousness. So we don't have much to hang our hat on here with the striking statistics. What we do know is that Bruno Silva has won 17 of his 20 wins by knockouts. The dude has got crazy heavy hands, and he can do it not only standing up, landing big punches, 1-2s down the middle, hooks, big overhand rights, kicks, but his ground and pound is on another level, you guys. And when he gets on top of you and starts throwing those canned hams of fists at your face, he is definitely knocking people out down there. It is definitely one of the biggest, most dangerous parts of his game. So Andrew Sanchez is going to have to be very careful if he does shoot for takedowns here, not to get reversed, not to let this guy get on top of him, because if he does, he's got vicious ground and pound. But we do know that Sanchez has the grappling background. Silva, a lot of his fights take place on the ground simply because people are terrified to stand with him. So, usually he will make grapplers out of people that aren't exactly grapplers. But Andrew Sanchez, like I said, very well credentialed Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I think the last time I saw his belt updated, it was a purple belt, but that was a very long time ago. So I don't know where Sanchez is right now with his grappling credentials, but I do know coming into the UFC, two-time college national champion, four-time All-American, and then a Pan-American IBJJF champion as well. So he's definitely legit on the ground. And we're going to have to look at, how he wrestles. And we're going to have to really, just acknowledge at least the fact that Bruno Silva has been finished by submission 5 times in his career. So let's go through these grappling stats here. 15 for 48 on takedowns is Andrew Sanchez in his UFC career. That's in 9 fights. So we're talking almost 6 takedown attempts per fight for Sanchez. He's getting them on a 31.25% clip. He's getting 1.92 takedowns for 15 minutes and getting 28% control time. While he has shown 100% takedown defense thus far, and even in the Ultimate Fighter House, he was showing 100% takedown defense, and those stats are not official. So yeah, he's definitely got excellent takedown defense. And he has only been controlled for 2.45% of his UFC career. So, we're talking about, it looks like that would be 4-8, about an 11-to-1 ratio of him out controlling his opponents in control time positions in the UFC. So that's excellent. Andrew Sanchez has been very effective, very efficient with the grappling when he does go to it. Bruno Silva, in his one fight against Wellington Turman, attempted 2 takedowns, got none of them. And we can tell here that Wellington was terrified to stand with him, because we can see that the fight took place in control time positions for almost 95% of the fight. So Wellington was not going to stand in front of him and box Bruno Silva. Wellington Turman attempted 10 takedowns in 1 round. So that's how desperate he was to get the fight to the ground against Silva. While in the Turman fight against Sanchez, we saw that Turman was definitely happy to stand and bang with him. And even though Sanchez got the better of him in that fight, Turman was landing on him, and it was a pretty 50-50 battle up until the big shots that Sanchez landed with about 1 minute left in that first period there, and Sanchez really got to him. First round knockout for Sanchez. The first finish that he got in the UFC was his 5th UFC win against Wellington Turman. So when we look at the strength of schedule, that is something that we will look at there in terms of the common opponent in Turman. They both knocked him out, but we're going to get a little bit more into Sanchez's opponents, because I wanted to talk about those grappling numbers, because it's very interesting. If we go balls deeper into the numbers, you guys, we're going to see those wrestling numbers parsed out in a little bit different way than what you might have expected. Now, first fight for Sanchez here in the UFC was against Khalil Roundtree back in 2016. And we saw him get a lot of control time here. 722 seconds of the 900-second fight was controlled by Sanchez. And we see big numbers here: 27, 274, 127, 340, 378, 0, 71, and 22. So he tends to out-control his opponents, use that grappling. And when he is getting these big control time wins, he wins 3 times and loses twice. The 2 losses were to Ryan James, a fight which he had basically won. It was just that James was out on his feet and the ref didn't stop it, and Sanchez basically punched himself out trying to finish it and wound up getting finished himself in the 3rd round. But you see that he does fare well when he is out controlling his opponents, because he should be 4-1 if he hadn't gassed out or if the ref had stopped that fight, because he kicked the shit out of James for the first 4 minutes, 5 minutes of that fight. It was one of the great fights that I remember Sanchez being in. A really exciting fight. If you haven't seen that James Sanchez fight, check that one out on UFC Fight Pass. It's an absolute treat. But So we can see that Sanchez has a tendency to outcontrol his opponents, and he will go to his wrestling. But let's highlight the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fights of Sanchez's career, and we're gonna compare them to the last 3. As a matter of fact, let's do this. Let's just do these first 3, because it'll show these first 4 actually. We can see when we look at the takedowns and takedowns attempted here, you guys, we're going to see 6 out of 12 in the Roundtree fight. Then he didn't attempt any after that. 4 out of 10 in the fight after that, and 3 out of 7 in the fight after that. So in those first 4 fights, we saw Sanchez get 13 takedowns in 29 attempts. So almost a 50% takedown rate. He's getting, 7, 11. So, yeah, he's getting 13, almost 4 takedowns per fight, doing a fantastic job. But then we look at the 5 most recent fights for Sanchez here. He's 0 of 6, 2 of 8, 0 of 2, 0 of 1, and 0 of 2 on his takedown. So in his last 5 fights, 16, 18, he's 2 of 19 on his takedown attempts. So that's a big contrast. 2 of 19, just over 10% on his takedown attempts in his last 5 fights. And then we look at before that against guys like Roundtree, against guys like James and Smith, who has notoriously bad takedown defense. He did very well. But then when he moved up to guys like Perez, Barrio, Vittori, Turman, and Muradov, we saw those takedown numbers go way down. And then that's when we see him go 3 wins and 2 losses. But the wins are against guys with losing records like Turman, Barrio, and Perez. And when he's stepping up to the better competition against guys like Vittori and Muradov here, he is losing. And the James loss was kind of a fluke. Anthony Smith, that was a very close fight, and he probably was going to get that decision if he didn't get knocked out in the last minute of that fight. You could tell Sanchez just completely ran out of gas. Lionheart Smith started putting it on him there in the last 2 minutes, landed some big shots, and got him out of there. Let's look, though, at Bruno Silva's record here, because we will see before the UFC, we saw him fighting in M1. The Shlemenko fight was scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds. And then the Artem Frolov fight, I believe, was for the middleweight championship. And he won it in the 4th round with ground and pound with 3:36 into the 4th round. He was a plus 475 underdog in that fight. So a really big win for Silva. But then, of course, he gets signed by the UFC after winning the championship there in M1, and he gets caught juicing. So then we have the 2-year layoff. So, we have to figure out where this guy is in his career. I mean, he's been around for a minute, has Silva. If we go back here to the matchup template, like I say, download it for free if you haven't already. We're going to see that, this guy's got 26 professional fights. He's 20-6. And most of those losses came pre-20, or all of those losses came pre-2016. The most recent loss was by Kimura in the 2nd round to a guy who has fought a ton of top-level competition. This guy, Moise Rimbon, who's 25-14-3, so a well-traveled veteran. But this guy, look at the names on his resume. Carlos Vamola, Bruno Silva, DJ Linderman, Jared Kilkenny, Rico Rodriguez, Antonio Noguera, Peter Graham, Anthony the Hippo Peroche, Lucas Jerkowski. So he's been around, and that was his last loss. It was by submission. But, I guess the biggest hole in the game, you could say, for Silva has been that defensive grappling, but we don't know if he's plugged that hole because it's been such a long time since we've seen him submitted. And we see that Moise here, that win over Silva came at the end of 2016, so it's been a long time. And this guy does have a lot of submission wins. We see one here by Americana, one by Arm Triangle, Key Lock, knee bar. So at least it's guys that, do have a ton of submissions on their records, and they're tricky grapplers. So let me see what you guys are saying here in the chat, because this is a very interesting matchup here, and I want to see what I can benefit from you guys here. Let's see. Yeah, so both guys did KO Turman. I think that's where we left off. Yeah, and then we saw my guy Dan coming in here, and let's see, we got Chris Kalanzis in the room saying Uncle Weezy taking care of business. You know that, Chris. I'm always doing that. And Benjamin saying he saw AKA as well. So yeah, we do see now that Sanchez is maybe training at AKA. And Dan Goldstein saying, as sure as Norman Dumont has copious amounts of cake, this conflict ends violently. And that is exactly what I've been thinking too. I do already have a bet on this fight, and it is the under 2.5 at minus 155. I have 1.55 units on that. That is a play on the fact that Sanchez has been finished in 3 of his 4 UFC losses, and that we got Silva losing 5 of his 6 losses coming inside the distance as well. I like playing fights don't go to decision. I'm more likely to take that bet when the percentage of combined losses is big rather than the percentage of combined wins, because you could have 2 really good finishers, but if they're fighting each other and they're both incredibly tough and difficult to finish, sometimes those fights don't finish. When oftentimes when you see guys that do look for the door when they get in trouble, you'll see a high percentage of combined losses in those fights. And you'll see that, those are the ones that are going to probably, let's say you got 10 combined losses, 8 of them have come inside the distance, right? 80%. Yeah, that's a good percentage, but I would rather see 80% in the combined losses than I would see 80% in the combined wins. I'd be more likely to bet it when I see it in the combined losses. So that's what I look for here. And we see that Sanchez has got 6 losses and in his career. And if I just scroll down just a little bit here, we see that 67% of them have come inside the distance. So that is 4 of 6. And then we got 5 of 6 here for Silva. So out of the 12 combined losses, 9 of them have come inside the distance. That's a 75% probability there. If you look at the line that you would get on a 75% implied probability, that's minus 300. We're getting the under 2.5 here for minus 155, available on Bet Online right now. Let's see if it's still there. I will refresh the page here, and we will go. Yeah, so Bet Online still doesn't have its props out, but right now it's got the under 2.5 at minus 155. It's better on 5 dimes right now at minus 140 if you have access to that book. We've got the fight goes to decision at plus 145 on 5 dimes, and the fight doesn't go at minus 185. So, I mean, we're talking like about a 64% implied probability right there. I think this fight finishes at least that much inside the distance. While Sanchez's wins have been by decision, that's 1 of his 5 UFC wins have been inside the distance. 8 of his 12 career wins have come inside the distance. And he does have a really good grappling pedigree. An international Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion here going up against a guy in Silva who has 5 submission losses on his record. I could see a path to victory for Andrew Sanchez by submission, and I could definitely see a path to victory for Bruno Silva by knockout, seeing as we have seen that Sanchez has got finished 3 of his 4 losses inside the distance by knockout. Muradov knocked him out, Smitty knocked him out, and the other knockout came at the hands of Ryan James in the 3rd round. The only decision loss he has is with Marvin Vettori, and that was in November of 2019. So let's see. We got Daz Files giving us the bad news that Strickland Rockhold fight is off. Yeah, that was that's a shame, but they'll find another opponent for Strickland. He'll be there to fight. He'll be ready to fight, and he's always fun to watch. So yeah, let's hope that. But I heard it was a L4 and L5 vertebrae for Rockhold back injury. I would say that that's just awful for Rockhold, but fuck, if I were that good looking, I'd just be a model just like him too. He can go right to the folks over at Prada or whatever, and they'll pay him a shit ton of money to not go into a cage and get his face punched off by Strickland. So yeah, Rockhold, reevaluate those career options, brother. You don't have to get the shit kicked out of you in order to make a pile of money and bang models on a weekly basis. So make the smart decision, man. Go back to modeling and crush a bunch of ass. You were doing that anyway, man. And let Sean Strickland fight a killer, somebody that needs the money. Daz Files saying, I just cashed out on Silva, not taking a just juiced till they see how they fight unjuiced. Under 2.5 instead. Daz Files, he did fight unjuiced for the tournament fight because he was in the USADA testing pool after he tested positive. So he tested positive coming into the UFC when he was supposed to fight Darren Wynn. Then he served the 2-year suspension, came back, fought Wellington Turman, and he was being tested. He fought clean then. So, and, you know, he's been in that USADA testing pool since. So he's been tested a number of times, I'm sure, because he's been caught cheating in the past. So, yeah, he is fighting clean right now. And USADA will let us know if they find anything. Asphalt in the room saying, got to catch my uncle late night. Yeah, dude, you know, sometimes you got to. I hate it that it's football season now because I would have went live at like 8 or 9, but you know, I don't want you guys to have to choose between football and your Uncle Weezy. That's not fair. I'm not going to do that to you. I wouldn't want you to do that to me. So wait till the football game is over. Then we'll do the balls deep breakdowns. And once football season is over, we'll get back to a slightly different schedule here. And Dan Goldstein saying the meaty part of my bet will be fight doesn't go with the Silva KO sprinkle. I like that, Dan, because I think that's definitely Silva's path here. And what worries me is I think the path for Sanchez here is to use the wrestling, use the top control, but Silva's shown excellent takedown defense. Turman was 0 of 10 thus far in the UFC. And if he can keep this fight standing, I think he's going to be landing the heavier strikes. And we've seen Sanchez get knocked out a number of times recently. And, you know, that chin doesn't get better as we age. So, yeah, that is a good look there. And I think if you're on that size, if you're on that side, you know, that Silva KO prop is going to have a little bit of value there. And we got Asphalt saying, can Sanchez get to the wrestling, though? Not too sure. Yeah, well, we just looked at that, dude. It's really frustrating when you see, you know, 2 of 19 in his last 5 fights, 2 of 19 on his takedowns. He managed to get 340 seconds of control time without getting any takedowns in the Perez fight, and he managed to get 378 seconds of control time, getting 2 takedowns against Barrio, but then no takedowns against Vittori, 0 seconds of control time. No takedowns against Turman, 71 seconds of control time, and no takedowns against Mahmoud Muradov, 22 seconds of control time. So I think that Sanchez, if you're betting Sanchez, you're probably not thinking that he's going to win a boxing match here, win a kickboxing match with Silva. So you're thinking that he is going to have to go to that wrestling. And you like seeing him train over at AKA if that's the case, because it seems like he's kind of abandoned the wrestling, hasn't been able to get to it. He had no success with it in the Muradov fight. You know, and then in the Vittori fight, he got no seconds of control time and was over 2 on his takedowns. So, you know, we have to go back to this fight here, 3 of 7 against Ryan James, and then Anthony Smith, who has terrible takedown defense, and Khalil Roundtree, who came out of the Ultimate Fighter House being a pure kickboxer. He got taken down. So I'm worried if you're counting on Sanchez in order to win this fight to show you that wrestling again, which we haven't seen in a long time, and we've seen him gas out in the cage in 3rd rounds. So the more you go to that wrestling, the quicker it empties your gas tank. I'm starting to lean Silva here, but I don't know if I can get to a bet. So yeah, Asphalt, I don't know if Sanchez can get to the wrestling. Dan Goldstein saying, I think Silva will use his BJJ black belt to calmly submit Sanchez via face punch. Yeah. Yeah, that's what he. Well, I mean, the guy, his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I don't know where he got it from, but you would think a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt would have one career win by submission. One, even if they had 4 wins. This guy's got 20. He's got 20 wins, 17 knockouts, no submissions. Where the fuck is your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt? Did you leave it in the car when you go to fight? And that car is double parked because you are getting in and out of that cage so fast, Bruno Silva. It's sick. First round knockouts galore on this guy's record. While Sanchez is a guy that tends to take his time, he is tough. Like we see, he's only been knocked down once, and it was, I believe, in the Smith fight. Let me just clarify that for you guys so that you know who it was. Yes, it was the knockdown did come in the Smith fight right here. Nobody else has knocked him down, which is crazy because he's been knocked out by James. He's been knocked out by Smitty. He's been knocked out by Muradov, but he's only been knocked down once. So yeah, tough dude. I was thinking when I saw when I saw the combined losses that this could potentially be a max bet for the fight doesn't go to decision, but I'm backing off of that now because Sanchez has not been a great finisher in his own right, and if the takedown defense doesn't hold up against Sanchez, who's been brushing up that wrestling over at AKA, then we could see him grind out a decision here. This is a very difficult fight to cap because you figure like Sanchez could find a couple different ways to win here. He is good on the feet. It wasn't until the 3rd round that Muradov started to really get the best of the striking exchanges. But he eventually did. This guy went 3 rounds with Marvin Vettori. And the numbers in that fight were 39 significant strikes out of 185 thrown for Sanchez and 85 out of 205. So he got pieced up by Vettori. But, we're not going to put Bruno Silva on Vittori's level here yet. So, that this is definitely a levels thing here. And when we add up the records of the 4 people that have beat him, we see 23 wins, 12 losses. So, he's losing the guys who have about a 2-to-1 win-loss ratio. So he's not losing to jokes. And like I say, that Janes fight, that was probably a win. So, if you take the Janes fight out of there, 11-6, 7-3, and 3-1. Some really legitimate dudes. Anthony Smith fought for a title. Marvin Vettori has. And Makhmud Muradov might one day if he can figure out how to not get submitted. But, yeah. So we've got Benjamin saying another thing to consider is Silva has fought 5-round fights. Yes, he has. So I lost that. Sorry, 5-round fights and keeps pushing forward in late rounds. Sanchez has never been tested that long. Yeah, because Sanchez has given up in the 3rd, against Janes, against Muradov, against Smitty. He does fade late. Sanchez breaks in the later rounds also, says Dan Goldstein. Exactly right. Grayson, I have no read at all. Thanks for the content, Weezy. Appreciate it, Grayson. We got Dan saying, when Sanchez fatigues, his fight IQ ain't worth an oil painting of a dolphin and a turtle fornicating. Yeah, Silva inside the distance plus 145. Yes, please. I think that is his path. And since you have to pay like minus 130, minus 135 on the money line for him, a way to extract some value is to think that Silva does crack that chin if he does win this fight. And if that's his win condition, you can get that extra value there. Thanks to our guy DFS by the numbers letting us know that Silva inside the distance prop right now plus 145. And we can see it right here, plus 145. Unfortunately, it's on 5 dimes. Let me refresh this just to make sure that these props haven't snuck out while I'm talking to you guys here on Bet Online, and they have not, of course. But yeah, Sanchez by decision is plus 335. You guys, that's really interesting because Sanchez hasn't had a submission for a very long time. but Silva has been submitted, 5 times in his career. But if we look at Sanchez, let's look at the last time he got a submission. So he got the knockout against Wellington Turman. Trevor Smith punches, ground and pound, punches. Yeah, it might be the first 3 fights of his career against Tom Jones, Daryl Cobb, or Eddie Smith that he got his submissions, because here it's a knockout, here it's a knockout, here it's a knockout. I don't see any submissions. So it looks like he hasn't submitted anybody except for low-level guys back in 2012. So maybe he won't be able to submit our guy here, Silva. And if he does win this, he does grind it out, like keeping him on the cage, taking him down, accruing control time, banking 2 of these 3 rounds. Maybe if you're on that Sanchez side, you like that plus 335 by decision, plus 375 for Silva by decision. I don't think I'd touch that. I think if Silva wins this, he probably does get it done inside the distance. And yeah, Silva inside the distance plus 145. Sanchez inside the distance plus 250. Yeah, so I like the fight doesn't go to decision here at minus 185. I think that's a good bet. I like Silva inside the distance at plus 145. And I already have a 1.55 unit bet on the under 2.5 here, as I do think that potentially if this fight gets to the ground, we could see Sanchez have some success. Like we say, this dude's been submitted a ton of times, but it hasn't been recently. So I don't want to hang my hat on that and go all in on it. But 1.55 units to win 1. I think that somebody as powerful and as mercurial as Silva, the way that he fights, that he will either drag Sanchez into this war or just not have success getting it there, and then Sanchez might find a submission or a knockout of his own. So, yeah. Let's see what else you guys having to say. Liking that take, but this is a hard read. It's a really hard read, Blake. I'm not running to the window on this one. I thought I was going to sprint to the window for the fight doesn't go. But after I got done watching the tape, Sanchez is tough, you guys. He does not get knocked down. Only once in 9 UFC fights has he been knocked down. So he is really hard to knock down. He's got a good chin. He's been knocked out, but it's really just been from conditioning issues rather than really just having his chin cracked. So yeah, it is really tough, man. Yeah, and Benjamin saying that's a juicy prop that DFS by the numbers dropped on us. And B saying, oi, just about to hit the pillow. We'll have to catch this on the flip. B, thanks for checking in, man. Appreciate that. Check it out. It'll be on YouTube, obviously. We got the stats ready for you. The link to Stat Diggers is in there. The link to my Twitter's in there. Get in that description. And let's see here. We've got Blake saying LOL. We got Dad's File saying, oh, jeepers, crush my under 2.5 now. Where's my volume? I'm already on Taz. I'm on that under 2.5 as well. I'm just not going all in on it. It's not one I feel like I have to max bet. But I was thinking about max betting it because Silva is the type of fighter that you don't. If your betting fight goes to decision, even if you cash it in a Bruno Silva fight, it's going to take a year off your life. The guy is you would hold your breath with every punch that this dude throws. And Sanchez is, he's been knocked out before, so this wouldn't be the first time if you were to catch him, and it wouldn't be the first time Bruno Silva got submitted on the mat if that's the way that Sanchez wants to get this. So I do like the under. I'm just not smashing it with everything I got. And then Benjamin saying, got to get running. Appreciate you, Weezy. Thanks for hanging out, Benjamin. Appreciate that. We got Jay in here saying, yeah, I'm good to hedge off. The fight doesn't go to decision. A bit of an arbitrage opportunity. I think that line's still going to run, you guys. This is a Bruno Silva fight. 85% finish rate, 83% finish rate in his losses. So getting, a fight doesn't go at better than a 66% implied probability is going to be a bet that people are going to be on. Trust me. Yeah, have a great night, Benjamin. Appreciate that. We got Thug Life 1994, DFS by the numbers, GOAT status. Yeah, dude, check the YouTube account. Over 11,000, maybe even 12,000 subscribers. The dude busts his ass. He's doing more than one sport. He's been my mentor, learning how to be a content creator, how hard you have to grind in order to do this at a high level every single week. And so, yeah, I've learned a lot from my man Brady, dude. That guy is the GOAT. We got Jay saying, I got it at minus 135. The line moved fast. Yeah, dude, I was looking at it at minus 150. By the time I got to it, it was already minus 155. So we don't go all in on a fight like this, says Dan. Just the tip is enough. Well, we got in pretty good, man. But, sometimes you dig down and you don't really find something that's just absolutely screaming at you. But that's all right, man. You guys have got your own reads. We went through all the numbers. We went through the schedules of both of these guys, the strengths, the weaknesses. We've got experience numbers. We got tail of the tape numbers. Nothing's really jumping out. My pick, you guys, is going to be Bruno Silva to win this one. I think he does it inside the distance by knockout. And the reason I'm making that pick is we haven't seen evidence in the last 5 fights of Andrew Sanchez executing the kind of game plan that I would need to feel comfortable that he would execute in order to bet him here. So the pick is Silva. If Sanchez shows us an upgraded offensive wrestling attack after training at AKA, that's something that I'm going to have to see first before I count on it happening, because the numbers are telling me in the last 5 fights that this guy has not been using his wrestling successfully here in the middleweight division. And if he can't use it successfully against Silva, I think Silva, the way that this dude cracks 17 career knockouts, you guys, that is a legit power puncher, and you do not want to be standing in front of this guy. DFS turned me on to Weezy, so you go and say, yeah, that's right, man. If it weren't for DFS by the numbers, I don't think anybody would have heard of me. So, but yeah, I love watching Brady and Weezy. Yeah, man, we love doing Stat Diggers. It's a great show. Check out on DFS by the Numbers YouTube channel. We did a main event deep dive today as well. We went live just before the Die Hard MMA podcast with Clint on Pub Sports Radio. We did that for about 45 minutes today. So get that main event breakdown over on DFS by the Numbers channel. We both went really into that one. A lot of good insight there. And then Dan saying Uncle Weezy and Brady have an arrangement. Brady shows him the ropes, and Uncle Weezy slaps that vinyl old school style at his wedding. Yeah, that's right, man. He joked around that I'm going to be DJing at his wedding. I have never DJ'd a wedding. I'm more of an underground house DJ. But, good music goes a long way. I've always been a big fan of it. And, yeah, I've amassed quite a collection of vinyl back there. So one of these days when your Uncle Weezy has a big week, and it could be this week because I've got a ton of bets down already, and there's some more spots that I'm definitely looking to smash. Maybe one of these days when I have a big week, I'll go live, spin some records for you guys, show you how we used to do it back here in Chicago around the turn of the century when house music was in its golden age, my friends. But that's what I got for you guys here on Balls Deep Breakdown. I am going with Bruno Silva in this matchup. I am not going to be betting the money line here. I do like that under 2.5. I do like the fight doesn't go to decision as well. I will be going live tomorrow night after the Contender Series is done, 10 o'clock Central Time, for the full card breakdown, just the tip. Make sure you join me for that. We'll go through all 11 fights. We'll give you a greasy 4-leg parlay, and we'll give you Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. Thank you for spending your Monday night with me on my channel. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I will catch you guys tomorrow. Check me, Brady, Luke, and AJ out on Pub Sports Radio, 6 p.m. Central Time for the DraftKings MMA DFS show. And I'll see you tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Central Time, right here for Just the Tip. God bless each and every one of you guys, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Good night.